Wennerstrom, Common Sense Health Expert. Welcome to the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. Without your health, there isn't much joy in life, so here we talk about all facets of health, including lots of unconventional strategies, tools, and solutions from a holistic point of view. This podcast is all about motivation, inspiration, and expansion of your mind, your body, and your spirit, because your health is your number one asset, and my job is to help you protect it. Now, on to today's episode of the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. This podcast does not provide medical advice. The purpose is to promote consumer knowledge and information on various health topics. Always seek the advice of your qualified health practitioner. Hey, this is Lenny Wennerstrom, Common Sense Health Expert, and you're listening to the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. We are talking to Wayne. It's Wayne Blakely. Is that how you pronounce your last name?
That is correct.
Enjoy this ride because we're going to talk about some health-changing things that are going to, it's a lot of fun things in health. You know me, I'm all about health and you protecting your number one asset, which is your health, number one asset. So let's start talking to Wayne. And he has, his company is Living Streams and it's livingstreamsmission.com, right? Your website.
That's correct.
Living Streams, probiotics, and this guy's phenomenal. I've gone around the internet and listened to as many of the interviews as I could with him, and the more I listen to him, the more I get excited about what he has to offer you, me, the world, and mankind. So with that, let's start talking about how, Wayne, you got into, how did you start? I mean, I know I've read this and listened, but explain to my audience, like how did you get started with creating these amazing products?
Well, it's kind of a long story. I started in 1995. My son was born. He was born 1995 in September, and he was born perfect baby, and he became autistic because his mother's milk was toxic with mercury. And he almost died in her arms. And so from that point on, I started. And I was working on my yard at the time, working with soil microbes and replacing. In 1995, I also bought a new house. And it was a beautiful place. It had like 10 trees in the backyard, 1/3 of an acre. The soil was contaminated with chemicals because he was using Chemlon for 15 years. And when he left,
who's he? The previous
the ex-owner.
Oh wow!
When he left, the next year everything died. Everything died in the yard.
You mean after you bought it?
After I bought it.
Oh God!
The next year, everything died. The grass died. It just died. Everything died, and not even a weed would grow in my backyard. So really strange. So I planted seeds, and nothing grew. And that's when I started research. I've actually bought it around before Grant was born, and so I was working on that prior to that. But then I started researching on the internet. I started working on it on the internet in 1993, and so I started looking. I found this company that made this probiotic probiotic product that they would shatter the probiotics in a frequency, shatter it in his little pieces floating around, and it would get in the cells and cleanse the cells out. That's what I was looking for. That's when I first started researching the probiotic end and what probiotics can do. Probiotics are nothing but a pro-life bacteria that's symbiotic to the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I learned that. I learned about aerobic, anaerobic, and things like this, and just kept on going until I got a full understanding. And I did a lot of praying, and my prayers were answered in 2001. So that year is a miracle. What happened? Miracles happened that year because I got answers through prayer. I mean, through my prayers, through dreams. I got a lot of information in those dreams that I was working on how to develop a powerful product, and there's processes that I had to go through. I had to learn. I picked up information from Japan, Germany, England, all over the world that I was reading. And every year went by, the more information came, was developed through the internet, and I could access that. Plus, I was working with a guy named Toby Groats in Kansas City that we were going to a a library there that had every paper in the world stored there. But every university, every doctor, they had copies of it, and you could access it.
I mean, studies?
We studied all kinds of studies. I mean, just
Oh,
studies from everything you want. All you had to do is pick a subject. It was either in paper form or it was on online.
microfiche?
Yeah. Well, that too. That we could find, but they would find it for you. And if you wanted to buy it, you could buy it. But you paid a fee once a year.
Yeah.
It's like a regular library. And if you wanted to buy it, you could buy it. We purchased tons of these papers. And I mean, I read everything. I've read books, studied dairy and how bacteria work in dairy and how they make different cheeses from different kinds of bacteria enzymes, make different kinds of cheeses. I studied all that. I studied the biome of a cow. So from that point, I knew by buying that product from that one company, when I was giving it to my son, it was way, way too harsh. And also it had alcohol. It was made with alcohol in it. So
Was it tinctured?
What's that?
Was it tinctured or how was it? I don't know.
Well, it was in a tincture form, but I can't remember the name of the company.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I worked with these guys for a long time. I was working with them, with the firemen, with my products at that time. I mean, it's after that I started working with them, the firemen up in New York State, when they had the World Trade Center thing. A few years later after that, I worked with them, and my products were doing wonderful things. And I was sending her cases of product to help the farmers. I mean, not the firemen that were poisoned in them. They were all in hospitals. They were dying and stuff. My product did miracles. She was up there using her product too, but she dropped me like a hot rock when she found out my products were working better than hers.
Of course.
So I was willing to send her thousands of bottles of it, at the time. I mean, I would send her whatever she wanted to help these guys.
This was from the company you're using to heal your son in the beginning until you created your products.
The first product I made from the research that I've done from all those years, that's the first product I made, and it helped my son, but it wasn't a miracle product for my son until I developed the living minerals probiotics made from the Dead Sea magnesium chloride. That's what triggered his starting of his healing, and that was in 2012. No, it was 2007, I believe it was, when I developed that product. That was made from the living streams bacterium. The bacterium. I added Dead Sea trace minerals to the product, magnesium chloride, and that triggered him. Within weeks, opened up his mind, and so I had to figure out how that was working. Now, the mercury is what damaged his brain. The mercury. Okay, then I had to study that. I had to figure that out, and so I developed from that product. I developed the living mineral probiotics. I had to do studies on that. I had to do a lot of lab studies to find out what's going on. Then I developed a product called Liquid. It was a Zeolife product with Zeolite, and we called it Zeolife with an F. And that was I was able to take zeolite and break it down to the molecules so it would pass the blood-brain barrier by molecules, because it's what you had to do to get it out of the brain, and it's really hard to break products down to a molecule. I mean, break it all the way down as far as you can go. So once I did that helped dramatically too, because that was able to get through the blood-brain barrier, because zeolite pulls metal, especially mercury and cadmium, nickel, things like that, into its cage.
Right.
And then when you get the only way you get it in the brain is through the mercury's got to be in the molecule form, because it won't in the globule, it won't pass through. It has to be down to the molecule, and that's how zeolite works. So the living minerals was helping with pulling out the heavy metals out of his body. And if you've got heavy metals, like, you got to imagine that a little tiny piece of metal, you can't see, is a boulder in the body. It's like a boulder rock. It's like a big rock, because there's trillions of molecules on that boulder that can slough off and pass through the blood-brain barrier. You're constantly getting it in your body when you have a large chunk in you understand what I'm saying? But you're looking at microscopic stuff, and when it sloughs off, it goes through the blood-brain barrier, goes into your brain, and sticks in one of the cells. Mercury is very toxic, because when it gets into the body, it short circuits the neurons in the brain, especially when they're children. And the reason they develop differently, because there's two pathways, one's chemical and one's electrical. So when that mercury gets in between a neuron, little molecule does, that neuron is trying to get some information, and that mercury short circuits it, just shuts it down. So it has to reroute around that, and that's why they think differently. That's why they have different talents. That's why a lot of kids that are have this problem are geniuses, because their whole brain has been rerouted when they're little. You got to catch them real early before this happens. He was 13 before I started giving him the good. See, he was 13.
So does your product, so say somebody from the vaccines that are loaded
Yes.
with aluminum and mercury and all this kind of stuff, but the mercury part, does it, if they already have autism, like your son was 13, so
Right.
if they already have autism, then the genius part that they have, do they still keep that and then they get normal, or does it
Well,
require?
what happens is this. That's what happens. What you got to understand about autism is that see, when I started him on these products, he couldn't say a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't say a sentence, barely say a word. He memorized anything. I mean, especially movies. He would memorize movies. He would, as the script went through the movies, he could say, he saw it one time, and then he could say the words. See a movie one time, then he watched the second time. He knew what the script was ahead of time. He would say it ahead of time. So we knew he was in that format, but he couldn't say a sentence. He couldn't think to say a sentence. Now, autism is just pretty simple once you get the mercury out. Okay. Now, whatever age that you got the mercury out of, like say, for instance, now Grant didn't mature at all mentally from the time he was born until he was about 10 or 11 years old. And you got to remember, when you get the mercury out, it puts him back to being like a 6-year-old, 5-year-old.
Yeah.
He wakes up, and then you realize that you got a teenager that has a six-year-old mind. From that point, once you get the mercury, I get him all clean. From that point, he has to mature. So he's like, if he's 20 years old and he's 6 years old, he's got all these years he's got to catch up to till he's 20 mentally. Yeah. But his body grows, but his mentally, and that's what Grant's doing right now. He's 23, and he's turned into let's say like a 16, 17, 18-year-old. He's growing mentally that way, but his body is there. That's what happens. You have to, when people don't realize, they say, we're going to have a magical cure. No, you're not. But you can get him to remember. See, it wasn't until about 3 years ago he could remember anything from his past.
Yeah.
So it takes time. In other words, his mind was a little child. You have to deal with him as a little child. Mm-hmm. Until they mature them slowly. They are slower, but he's like 95% back.
And so the products that you used and were working with him were the Zeal Life, the
right.
minerals,
right, and the minerals. Right.
And those were the two main ones, right?
Those are two main ones that actually got the mercury out of his body to stop the reactions, mm-hmm. and to help flush it, because you can only flush cells out if you have lots of water and trace minerals. That's been documented, because the cell will open up to receive the fresh water. It's actually going after the minerals, and when there's water there, the water will flush the cell out, because it opens up and there's lots of water in the bloodstream. So it'll flush it out, and that's the reason I developed that, because of research. You see, research is what helped me the most.
Okay, that's fascinating story, and what a
that's just one aspect of what I did, and all these other products I made, and all these other things that came out of this mostly to help people. I developed one product for parasites, just for parasites, to help a woman.
What's that one called?
That's called Flora PM.
Oh, I ordered that one.
Yeah, Flora PM. It does a lot, but see, I made that for skin parasites, and microscopic parasites in the body. It's really good. It's made from sphagnum moss from the Arctic Circle, purified. I buy this product special. It's purified, and I use that to digest it. And the byproducts of that is that it's a humic mineral product. Okay.
Oh, the humic.
Full of minerals. Yeah, full of humic minerals.
Fulvic too.
Oh, all that. It's got everything. It's just like a miracle product.
Wow.
anyway, it's got all this, because that's what sphagnum moss does. It pulls minerals from the soil. I mean, it pulls them from the soil, and also trees. When you see it growing on the side of a tree, because tree is made up of mostly minerals and a few carbohydrates and water. That's all it's made up, is minerals. So you see the sphagnum moss on the north side of trees growing on a tree. That's sphagnum moss, and it sucks the minerals out of the tree.
Oh,
See, that's what it does. It just pulls the minerals out.
I
Now
don't know.
there's 125 different species of sphagnum moss. 125.
Wow.
So you got to pick the right one, and it's kind of hard to do. I really want the sphagnum moss that comes from southern Poland, but they won't sell it because they got it locked down, because they're using it's got a miracle cures. They're using it for miracle cures over there now, but you can't buy it. But I'd love to get some from down
Where
at
is it at?
Poland.
Do you just need a little bit of it? Like, could you just get a little bit and then be able to use
That's
it?
what I'm trying to do, but I haven't been able to do that for 5 years. I'm looking for it.
Where is it?
It's in southern Poland.
Huh. You never
It's
know when somebody knows somebody. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've got a guy up in. Listen, I got a guy up in Canada. He's Polish, and he's over there now. He said, "I'll see what I can do. I'll bring me some back."
I've got some
I,
Polish friends.
well, it's kind of hard because they don't let you export it, and I said, "Give me a few pounds of it. That'll do me. I mean, I could just a few pounds of it. I could really see what I could do." But they use it in Poland for all kinds of stuff, and the pharmaceutical companies got control of it, and with the
Wow.
government, they locked it down. So, oh yeah, it's a huge bog, because it's so powerful about doing all this other stuff. And so
Wow.
that's what I do. I study out and search out different kinds of nutrient, what company makes them, because my products are nothing but water and nutrient from different herbs that I use and I have to find a bacteria that will break them down correctly, so it'll produce the right amino acids and enzymes.
Wow.
That's my studies. So
Fascinating.
I use a variety of different kinds of bacteria to break down different nutrients, and I have all these choices to take to test. Like for instance, the sphagnum moss has properties to kill parasites in it. They're completely harmless to eat, but yet it kills parasites, because that moss will stay in the ground for 100 years, never rot. Even though it's wet, will never rot. No parasites can get in it. No bacteria can eat it.
Is this voltage or like a low voltage, or is it
No,
frequency?
no.
Or I guess those are the same thing, but what is it in that sphagnum moss that it
I
does?
have no idea, but it works.
Oh, because you
It's,
don't have any, so you can't break it apart to see.
well, I know none of that stuff, but my products do the same thing, only it's not as powerful as
Yeah.
that stuff. So
Wow.
you see what I mean? It's just I'm always looking for the best,
Yeah.
whatever I can get the best. So
I have a question
yeah.
from a listener, and they ask, can you discuss the relationship between the gut and the brain, and does Wayne's product strengthen the brain via the vagus nerve? Which product, and does it strengthen the vagus's nerve ability to move serotonin for more total, or is it total brain focus? That's by Lisa.
Well, you're
I,
talking about methylation. I work with Sandy Rideout, which I'd love to get on your program and have him talk to you too. He's a methylation expert, balancing the body. But what he has found, and with his research and what I do together with him,
uh-huh.
is that once you are on certain products, we're actually learning how to take the different products to help balance it. But the main thing that you want to do for that brain fog, and there's several things you can do for that, which I developed a product. It's called Chabide. Chabide, Chabide. Now that product stimulates the pineal gland. I know that's your favorite gland.
Well, I'm so
Yeah.
excited because I should get it today or tomorrow.
Yeah. Now that's what opens up your head, because my theory about the pineal gland is it is the master gland. It controls every organ in your body, and it controls the thyroid, adrenaline production, melatonin production. So one thing it does for sure for everybody, it helps you sleep very, very well. And
Melatonin, baby.
yeah, melatonin will activate push out that fluoride, take the calcium deposits off by using living streams, multi-blend, not the multi-blend, sorry. You take the Chabide and the Bifidol, and the Bifidol will take all the plaque out of your body, 100% of the plaque out.
That's, you're talking about arteries and
Everything. I'm talking with bone spurs. 2 years, if you take that product, it'll all come out because it's got curcumin in it, which has a mineral in there called yttrium. And that research came out of a doctor he did research from in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. He's dead now, but he's a German doctor, about that mineral that's in curcumin, and that mineral is called yttrium.
Is that like Yttrium?
It's Yttrium.
Oh,
Yttrium, yttrium they call it. It's a rare element. There's none of it in our soil in this country. It's that if you buy curcumin from from India, India is loaded with yttrium in the soil. So that's the reason. And the turmeric plant that they make yttrium, they make curcumin from, is a plant that absorbs yttrium. In fact, it craves the yttrium out of the soil.
wow.
It goes looking for it, and then they take that turmeric plant, which is an herb they use in spices. Excuse me. They make curcumin out of its concentrated form, and so it's loaded. But the problem with that is that they research curcumin more than any other
You mean in India?
supplement in the world. They know all of the world. They
Everybody,
research
yeah.
curcumin because when people take it that are sick, it literally cures them. Of everything. But it only works on about half the people or less. They don't know why. That's why they're studying it. But we know there's only a few people, a handful, that actually understands exactly why it doesn't work. And if you get a book called Minerals for the Genetic Code, there's a doctor in there, Richard Ulrich. In that book, talks about the yttrium and what it can do for the body. But the key to actually make the yttrium work correctly is that you have to have two bacteria in your digestive tract to digest it correctly so that your body can assimilate it. And that's bifidum and longum. Well, that's what I was making. I was making it for, see, nothing happens by accident. Okay. I was making bifidum and longum and selling it as a probiotic for a long time. When I read that book years ago, that Minerals Genetic Code, but a friend of mine called Alan Atkins, he said something about your product, he said, about bifidum and longum, that I'm trying to remember where I read that, those two. Well, then he remembered and called me back, and so I dug the book out again, and Richard Allray talks about how yttrium, the only way they can break down yttrium that's in curcumin correctly is with bifidum and longum. So
Wow.
if you don't have those bacteria in your digestive tract, the curcumin doesn't work.
Wow.
So
So,
that's why it works on some people that have that bacteria and other people it doesn't.
so the people, okay, so basically a lot of people that are taking the turmeric, which has the curcumin,
Turmeric, yeah.
and it's not from India, it's from here or from wherever it
Yes,
is.
it doesn't have any yttrium in it.
Oh, because some people, they say, yeah, it works, like a lot of people will say, oh my God, this works so great, and then others are like, just
Yeah,
nothing for me.
right, exactly, same thing. It depends on where they buy it and where it comes from. But see, I have a little trick here. We found a lab that makes pure yttrium chloride, which chloride is good for you. Okay, so not only we get our Indian product, but we add a little pinch of yttrium at every batch, so that we ensure that we get the yttrium in there.
Wow.
Now they make 63 different kinds of yttrium out there in the market. Some of it's radioactive because they use it for their technology because it's a rare element. They use it in making computers and different things, like that. So they use that product. So it's a rare element. And it costs a fortune to buy a gram of that. Literally. So I buy that. Some of these products cost, just for instance, to develop Chibide product,
Mm-hmm.
costs over $18,000 just to develop that product, just to get it on the market.
Jeez.
Just one product, just to get it on the market, just for the cost of it, the cost. So sometimes
Yeah.
it costs,
Not your time, just the physical
right,
cost of the
physical
product.
costs that I had to pay out to get this stuff. So you got to, and the time it takes to develop it, get the ingredients right, find a product, a bacteria that will actually digest it correctly so it produces the right enzymes and amino acids,
Wow.
and test it. Well, so usually it takes about 2 years really to develop a product. And I've got like 14 products. Some of them I jumped the gun, like the C60. I jumped the gun. I didn't do a lot of studies on that because it's totally safe, totally safe. And that was a product I developed that's completely different from anything else I've ever done. That's C60.
The C60. And I want to talk about C60 because I know we've had in our other conversations or previous conversations off the air, the uh, you had talked about it being, I had asked you if it was nano and if it would go in and mess up your DNA and because that's
Right. That's all.
a very big thing. And let me just finish this point
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
it's that it's harder than a diamond. It's harder than, and you can't get it out of your body. And so therefore it can create frequencies. And so if somebody wanted to control your mind, they could because of that frequency. So is that like way out there?
That's
And
way out there, that's out there past Venus. Okay.
but I mean, truly frequencies are everything. I mean,
I understand.
I truly believe that guns and rifles and that kind of stuff, they're going to be obsolete because it's going to be all frequencies.
Well, it's
You
a
know?
possibility, but let me tell you something about this. They did a study on that. The federal government did a study, and I read the study.
Hmm.
Okay, about controlling minds, people controlling minds. Okay, they took a group. They did this several times. They didn't just do it once. They couldn't believe they couldn't believe it when they first did it. Now
Hmm.
they took a group of people that they were testing for mind control through the frequencies, high frequencies, and they were very successful with it. Okay, so they took 12 people and they put them in their environment, and they environment in the lab, and they were very successful by doing this, by making them do it. Then they took another group of people that they told them what they were going to do. Okay, they just told them we're going to control you, and none of it worked. Not one. Not they wouldn't do anything because they knew. I mean, literally, they didn't want to do it. I mean, your mind, your subconscious controls that. If you know they're trying to do this to you, all you have to do is tell yourself, well, they're trying to control me. It stops. They could not. They could not, by the life of them, figure out why.
Yeah.
Because your subconscious is smarter than you are. Your subconscious is
Yeah.
smarter than your brain and your conscious mind.
Well, that's because the universe. It,
Well, a lot
I
of
mean,
people are
that's why.
affected by a lot of people affected by like brain fog. I mean, if you go to there's a movie out there I think you can get still for free. It's called bulletproofmold.com.
Bulletproof mold.
Bulletproofmold.com is a movie.
Mold is in the toxin mold.
MOLD, yes. You watch those movies and go out there and start looking about symptoms of mold toxicity, and you'll see a lot of this stuff. You'll see it like, for instance, toxic mold in your body. Well, it has the same symptoms as Lyme disease. Exactly. But it has more than just that symptoms. Crippleness, blindness, mental disability,
Yeah.
stroke symptoms, having strokes, all these different things besides just the Lyme. So it covers a whole gamut of stuff.
Hmm.
My two products actually does remove the mold out of the body. Living Streams Multi-Blend and the Elasterma Gold will actually remove the pores. Now, we did a study in 2005. Dr. Pearson Nova Lab showed that our product destroys the mold spore,
Wow.
and it stops it from growing. It won't grow. It destroys it. Our amino acids destroy it. And
Like it's gone, like it eats it away, and then
well,
it.
the bacteria. They call them bactericins or amino acids. When it comes in contact with a mold spore, it burns a hole in them.
Oh wow.
Same way it does all other stuff, pathogenic bacteria and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's a natural byproduct of. That's why your digestive tract fights those bacteria. That's exactly how it works in your gut. That's the way it fights against the enemy. The enemy it's an amino acid. They call it a bactericin, and you can look it up, study it. It's out there.
I'm going.
And I have two papers. I only found really two papers that shows this. One came from the Netherlands just recently, and the other one was printed. And a guy named Hamden wrote it in 1974. He published a paper in 1974 about bactericin and how he did his studies. Very fascinating study. But that's the only two I've really found on the study. They don't really want to study that. They don't want to study because it gets away from pharmaceutical stuff. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. I was like,
that's why they
wow.
don't study
Yeah.
it. They don't get paid. See, they don't get paid to study that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Got it.
yeah.
And so now we went from the C60 that,
C6,
and we never finished.
C60 helps the pineal gland too. It opens up the pineal gland. The pineal C660 is not a nutrient for our body. It causes a frequency because it's a perfect molecule because of the magnetic wave of the Earth, which is 85 megahertz. It's going through our bodies all the time. When that comes in contact with that molecule, it changes the frequency. It changes the frequency of what's going through your body to another frequency. Puts you in a different realm. Now, Walter Russell, people need to study Walter Russell, fascinating man. He's been talking about C6. He's dead now. He died in 63, but he talked about C60, that perfect molecule, from the 20s all the way through until he died. He said, when mankind discovers C60, it'll be the end of sickness on this planet as we know it. That's what he did. In 1985, they discovered C60.
But how did he know about C60?
Because you got to read Walter Russell, what happened to him in 1921.
Oh, is that a teaser?
He had a vision. He had a vision that lasted for 38 hours, 36 or 38 hours.
Oh.
I mean, he did. And he taught Tesla. When Tesla had a problem, he would go to Walter Russell.
Wow.
And the reason they took him out of there's a reason why they took him out of the history books. There's a reason. You want to know it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
When
Like that.
1945 or 1945, so
What?
Roosevelt was in the White House, and so was Walter Russell. Walter Russell was in another room doing his bust. He's an artist, and he was friends of the family. He would go to dinner with them. They had picnics together. He was friends with both families. Were friends. All right. He walks into the Oval Office, and he finds Roosevelt dead. Because that's, he died in the White House, okay? But he shot himself with a pistol.
Oh, Roosevelt.
And they put out that he died. They didn't want anybody to know that he committed suicide. So they kept him and took his name. And now the Roosevelt family protected him because they would have killed him to shut him. Because they didn't want anybody to know that Roosevelt committed suicide. He just died. They knew he had polio.
Yeah.
So he wrote about it, and I know people that work with his archives up there in Vermont, Virginia, and they found his notes in his writings that he had seen that. That he had seen that. See, that's the reason that we know now that that's what happened, the real truth about it. But he wrote about it. He said they won't let me talk about it. So they took him out of the history book. Walter Russell, very, very brilliant man.
And he was Tesla's teacher.
He taught, when Tesla had problems, he would come to Walter Russell and he would explain what it's all about. Now, he was way, way smarter than Tesla.
So
about
he was
electricity.
a quantum physics guy and an artist.
He was an artist. He was also a physicist, which he never went to school for, an engineer. He manufactured products way beyond their time. Wow. When he came out of this thing he went through, he knew he was a mathematician.
Yeah.
He was being trained. He was walking around the house talking for 38 hours straight, and his wife thought he was crazy. In fact, when he came out of this, he was on the way to the hospital. Her brother and his wife, was taking him to the hospital. Thought he was nuts because he was walking around talking and just, blabbing, but he was bumping into walls and stuff. Can you imagine somebody doing that for like 38 hours? Continually. And then he came to, he had all this knowledge. And that was Walter Russell's story.
Wow.
And so he was a genius, but he was an artist. He could play the piano, any concert, he could do anything, basically.
Wow.
He wasn't an artist. He was just a regular Joe, had a college degree, got out of college, young guy, got married, and that's what happened to it. And he died in 1963.
How old was he? 19?
I don't know, but I don't know when he was born, but he had this epiphany in 1921. So he was been out of college. He was a grown man. So he died in 60. He was an old guy, but he wrote and he invented stuff. And I know people that are working with these archives, Virginia, and they told me about this guy. And when I heard that, I said, I was already studying frequencies, and a lot of people don't get this. When they do these people that sell C6, they talk about all this other stuff, but what it's doing is putting the body into a state of frequency that nothing can touch you. Now, did I send you that rat study?
No, but would you? I went and looked it up online, but I just got a little.
I got the original one. The one that's the legitimate one, and I've got the. Did I send you the structure effect?
No. Send me that.
Okay, I will. Okay, I studied. The structure effect talks about beehives and wasp nests, the structure of the hive, and when the magnetic field goes through, it changes the frequency. Some of it's good and some of it's bad. It depends on the structure when the magnetic wave goes through these structures, it changes the frequency of what's going through. It changes it totally. That's why, like for instance, certain animals will live in certain parts of the country because they like that frequency, and they don't live in other parts of the country. Like antelope up in Wyoming, they don't live in Missouri or Kansas because they don't like that frequency of the earth. They like that frequency up there, and that's what it's talking about. It's just certain frequencies that you walk through. Now, humans can adapt to any frequencies, but you heard of people getting sick. I don't know if you've read this kind of stuff before, but they get sick because they've got frequencies in the ground around them, or you walk into a house and it doesn't feel good to you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
That's what it is. That's what the frequency is. So the structure of the ground underneath you is causing a weird feeling on you when you walk into it. It's a frequency, and that's what C60 does. Only C60 is good. It's a good frequency.
Good.
Now, when they did the rats, okay, I'll just explain the rat study real quick.
Okay.
They started a rat study. A company hired a company in Paris, France, a research company, to do a study on C60. That was back in 2003, because they wanted to market the C60. They said, we want to find out what the toxicity levels are of C60. So they started a study, and they were testing rats. So the first part of the study, they were testing 12 rats, and they gave them all the C60, go higher, and then they killed them. They autopsied them, check them to see what it looked like. Nothing, no damage to the organs. Then they did another group, and they ate more and more and more until they just got to a level where they were shoving it down the rat's throat, and it still wasn't hurting the rat. Wasn't hurting the rat at all. Okay, so what's that?
Poison?
No, C60.
Oh, C60 wasn't hurting them.
It wasn't hurting them. They were feeding them as much as they could shove down them,
Yeah.
and they saw no problems with the rat at all. So there was no toxicity levels. You could eat as much as you wanted. That's what they wanted to find out. But then they changed the test a little bit. They want them to take a group of rats and feed them C60. And this went on for months. Okay, this study was started in 2003, and they wrote the paper in 2012. So that's the stretch of study they did.
Wow.
So
with one set of rats?
No. They kept killing rats, and for toxicity levels. Okay, that's what they do. That's life in the lab.
No, I know.
And they were using a chloride to kill them with it. Kill them. And anyway, what they did the last study, they took 12 rats, 6 over here as the study group, and then what they call it. Anyway, get what they call them. I'll get it here. They took 6 rats and they separated them, and it gives 6 rats they gave C60, and the other 6 rats they didn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, they were young rats, just right out. They were young rats. Okay. Now, normally a rat will live for about 24 months normally, and these rats are genetically modified to die young. That's what they do. They breed them so they'll die young, because they don't want them hanging around feeding them when they don't need them. Okay, so usually it's a 24-month test. So what happened was that they give the rats every day for a week. They give them C60, and then they give it to them for every week for a long time. Then they started giving them C60, the test group. Okay, the control group, that's what it was. They just got food, and at C60. Then after a while, they started just giving it to them once a month. All right. Well, not just went on for 24, 25 months, and then the control group died of old age. They died. They got arthritic, like they all do, gray hair, and their body got full of tumors. That's why all rats die. They just die that way, and they died of old age. They died. Well, the other rats were still alive, and so they continued the test until it hit 42 months, and these rats were still alive. By the way, at 24 months, they quit giving them the C60. No more C60 after 24 months. And so they were waiting for them to die, because that was what they were getting paid for, to find out how long these rats are going to live. Well, at 42 months into the test, they said, we got to get rid of these rats. It's going on too long, 42 months. So they decided to kill them. So they took their chloride out. They killed the other rats. Other rats got killed. That's why they used a poison. And they injected all 6 of these rats. There were 6 rats. They're all healthy. 3 females and 3 males. Inject them with the chloride, and nothing. They waited and waited. Didn't hurt the rats at all. It's the same stuff that killed all the other rats in the beginning. It didn't hurt them at all.
Wow.
So they said, well, we're just going to radiate them. So they put under heavy doses of radiation just to fry them, cook them, kill them that way. So they
Horrible.
did that. Didn't hurt the rats at all. Didn't hurt them at all. Didn't even affect them. Just like they put them out in the sunshine. So they broke their necks and they
Oh,
autopsied them. They found no poison. They found no damage to any organ in the body from the radiation, and they showed they had no tumors in them. They were
wow.
42 months old now, and they had no sign of aging. They checked their telomeres, and there was no signs of aging in these rats at 42 months.
Yeah.
That's just from the C60.
Wow.
Now, let me explain why. Why the radiation, the frequency of what was in the body when you inject them with the poison neutralizes the poison when it hit the body. That's number one. Now, the radiation, do you know what a Faraday cage is?
Yeah, the Faraday cage, yes.
Well, what does a Faraday cage do? It collects energy that's coming into and grounds it. That's basically what it frequencies come in and it grounds it.
Mm-hmm.
What C60 does, the opposite. It reflects off.
Oh.
It's like a field around it. In
Uh-huh.
theory is that I'm working with some other people that know about frequencies. 6 to 8 inches away from your body is a cage around your body. So radiation, ultraviolet rays, everything won't get into your body. It neutralizes it, just like the microwaves, radiation. It's just my own theory, but it makes sense to me because radiation didn't kill the rats. Why?
So then what about like cell phones, cell phone
Shouldn't
towers?
bother you at all.
So C60 would
Keep it
basically,
off your body. Keep it on your body.
yeah, instead of it going through, you're just like,
Right. You got a barrier around it. That's my theory because it didn't kill the rats. It makes perfect sense because it didn't kill the rats. They radiated them with a heavy dose of radiation. Didn't even hurt them.
oh, did it hurt the other people? No, I'm just kidding. It's
I
like,
don't know.
stop them. No, I'm just kidding.
But
Okay. So that's fascinating. But I have a
that's
bunch.
the C60. Go ahead. We got plenty of time. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Well, yeah, we've got like 15 minutes. Okay, so I wanted to talk about, since my audience is primarily women, I want to talk about like some of the things that hair, skin, and nail health and like
Okay.
hair turning, going back to its natural color and stuff like, I mean,
Things like that happen to some women. It does. Yeah.
but I
Some
mean, but I mean, if it's like this C60, is that something that does it just stop the telomeres from shedding, from being used? And
Well, I've been working on that for quite a while. And I have 20 years. I've studied longevity, and I have different products for that to help the telomeres increase in length. But
yeah, do any of the products that I ordered have it?
well, no, you got the bifida has yttrium. Remember the rats? I told you the guy. Did I tell you about this? About the yttrium? What it did for the rats in the study for that? I
Uh,
did.
no, I don't think so.
Well, a German doctor did. So I didn't get to that part of it, but he was injecting yttrium chloride in the rats every day,
Yeah.
and he just fed them and keep them alive and see how they do. And one thing they played all the time. The rats did their whole life, and they never got. There was like 4 side effects. He called it. Number one, he was checking their urine, checking for for minerals and also protein in the urine. Because if you want to have your urine test now, the doctor would look at it and say, okay, you got the right amount of protein, you got the right amount of minerals, because
Mhm.
your body always leaches out leaches, and
Mm.
that's it leaches. So if you had no minerals leaching out and no protein, then he would say you got something wrong with your kidneys. Okay, or if you're leaching too much protein and too much minerals, there's a zone they have you and they put you in this box. That's what doctors would normally do.
Mhm.
When he tested the rats, he started testing the urine and he found minerals and protein in the rats. Right away, when he started, that was his first side effect, he called. When he started taking the yttrium, he was giving yttrium chloride right into the digestive tract. And that's when I was telling you about that you have to have bifidum longum in your digestive tract to function in the curcumin. Remember we were talking about that? Okay.
Yeah.
Now rats, that's a natural probiotic that every animal has in them, unless you take a big dose of antibiotics. You got to remember that.
Yes.
Okay, rats. You're not going to give a rat an antibiotic to try to save it. You're just going to kill it. Go get another rat. Okay, that's what they do. You don't ever give a rat antibiotics. Okay, so these rats were injected every day, and the side effects were that they quit leaching minerals. Okay,
Mhm.
they never were sick ever. Okay, and when they died, they never had a tumor, never showed any sign of aging or tumor when they died in their sleep, and they lived for 6 years.
Wow.
That's the side effects, he said.
And the normal is 24 months, so 2 years.
Right, 2 years. They
And
live
they
for 6 years. It's 3 times their normal lifespan, just from the yttrium chloride, and that's in the bifido.
yes.
Anyway, so I've been working on this for a while, and I read this kind of stuff. I thought, wow, I gotta use that some. So I figured out how to make it. Now
I need
that product works for everybody because it's already been pre-digested by bifidum malongum. So when you take it, you're getting the raw product. You're absorbing every bit of it,
wow.
and it'll even affect people with one drop in their mouth.
Wow.
We did a study on that, how it helped women, helped this woman. I'll get into that in another time about how that study we did with that
I'm gonna
doctor.
have to have you on like all the time because I'm not gonna be able to finish this at all.
I can do this every day.
Well, you're awesome. Okay, I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
the skinny gut diet. That
I have no idea what that is.
okay. Anyway, it's Brenda Watson. She talked about two. It's the fat bacteria and a skinny bacteria. And the Firmicutes is the fat bacteria, and the Bacteroidetes, I think that's what you were talking about, is the skinny bacteria. So she would,
You mean that they're marketing on the market right to lose weight?
yeah, to lose weight, and if
Right.
you,
That's a spore forming bacillus.
that's a
It
spore.
comes from the dirt. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And okay, and everything that I've heard you talk about the spore forming, that's a dangerous
Very
thing.
dangerous.
So the stuff that they're selling
Yeah.
is,
All you have to do is look it up on the internet and find out if it's found in the human body or not. And if it's not, you don't want to take it. It's real simple.
wow. Hold on, I've got to get mine and see. Until I found yours, and besides, because I ferment veggies and stuff, but I was taking this one. But after one of the things that you said yeah, prior to this, you told me that that the way that these probiotics, because this is what I just showed, it was
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
just a Garden of Life raw probiotics.
No, that is nothing. That company there, that guy ought to be in jail. He hurts. I help more people that do use his products than anything else. That spore forming bacillus is what that is. It comes from the dirt.
Oh, well, that's not good.
That's Garden of Life.
Yeah.
I
So
like this guy, Jordan. I think what's his name, Jordan?
yeah, Jordan. So and he actually sold to a
I
very big
know, but
company.
yeah, I know. But they do the same thing. They
Yeah,
buy every bit of their products they sell in that company come from China.
and so explain to the audience, like what is it, why is the spore forming just because it doesn't happen in your body, and what is
Well,
the what
spore forming bacillus is they when they get in your body, they have to latch onto an area somewhere in your digestive tract. It takes why sometimes it takes the time because you have to have a clear spot in your digestive tract walls for them to latch on. So once they latch on into your gut, they start stuffing off these spores, and they're like mustard plasters, and they go down through your digestive tract. Say you got a bad infection in your gut,
yeah.
overgrowth pathogens. When you take this stuff, oh wow, you feel really good. It's starting to feel better because it's killing off all the pathogens. But what it does, it coats your intestinal walls all the way down to your rectum with these spores that
Cool.
latch on like mustard plaster.
Great.
Okay. Now the only thing that'll grow in those spores, like a coating, is those bacteria. They'll latch on and start growing, but it kills everything else, including the villi in your gut. Kills it too because it suffocates it.
Oh,
And it just covers, and then you start feeling bad. Then no matter how much food you eat, you can't gain any weight. You will not. It'll make you lose weight. All right. I knew several people I worked with that. I mean, this 26-year-old kid got kicked out of the army because he was losing so much weight because he was on that stuff.
oh
He was
man.
in the army, and he was eating 4 or 5 meals a day, gobbling the food up, and they had to because he kept losing weight. He went from 165 to 124. And I had a woman that was 6 foot tall. She was 115 to 119 was her best weight. She had to eat 5 meals a day because of that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Because because the bacteria eat it all. As it goes down your tract, the bacteria get it, and you get nothing. That's why spore forming bacilluses are dangerous
So
because they go ahead.
Your stuff is that which one of the
It's not
things?
spore forming, so they're not.
Right. No, I get that. But
Yeah, yeah.
so which one of your products helps? What are the products that help with that?
Well, we just give them usually the living streams and a derma will help kill off that stuff. And
So is that like
the,
drops? Like how many drops would I take, or
oh,
how?
you have to just go slow. It takes about 2 years to recover from that,
Great. So I'll
but it's a long, drawn out thing.
you have a customer for life because I mean I've been taking
Wow.
this. I put these spores
No,
in my.
that's we get that out of you real quick when you start. Just throw that in the trash. Don't get that. I mean, that stuff's. I don't.
Listen, listen, Wayne.
I
That's
that
the
stuff is
recycle.
nasty stuff. Nasty stuff. This guy's a character. He talks. He said it's from the soil. He probably years and years ago went out in his backyard in because in the soil there's at least 15,000 different kinds of bacteria, viruses, and
Yeah.
fungus and parasites in the soil in anybody's backyard. It's okay to eat a little bit of that. You don't eat it all the time. I mean,
Right, right. I mean, because you play in the dirt when you're little, and that's a good
yeah,
thing to get
yeah,
stuff in your body.
yeah.
But I mean, if you're taking it like in from a
Well, a
laboratory,
concentrated form of it is what
right?
that is.
That's what I'm saying. Because so I don't want the mothers out there to get all scared.
Luckily, it's in a powdered form. That way, you won't absorb very much. That's what.
Oh, instead of the liquid like yours. That's
Right,
what
right.
I wanted to talk about is that yours in liquid. But first, I want to just ask you: do you know what Firmicutes is? Have you even heard of that?
Formicutie, never heard of it. What is it?
Firmicutes. Firmicutes is supposed to be the bacteria that creates the fat. I've always wondered about this because I couldn't really find, except for
Well,
just.
the reason is there's lots of reasons why you people gain weight. For one thing, the main reason is left and right hand. If you're left-handed or right-handed, that's the main. That's the
Oh, okay. What is
main.
that?
What you eat,
Oh,
what you eat, and how you eat, how much you eat. Now, normally when people eat, because they're overeating all the time, because their body's craving nutrient that they're not getting. So
mhm.
your subconscious thinks you're hungry when you're really not, and you start eating trying to get that nutrient.
Oh, because we're lacking nutrients because we're not.
Right, and we're not getting it in our food. We're not getting it. See? So the body's always craving. So that's why you eat, try to get the nutrient. They have no idea what to eat to help you. Now, normally, like protein, for instance, when you eat protein, pure protein, you only absorb about 4 to 6% of the protein in your body.
What?
That's all you absorb in protein. It's all you absorb.
So if you eat a piece of
Of the
chicken,
volume of food that you get, you only get between 4 and 6%. That's what you get. The rest of it is broken down by pathogens, which actually creates ammonia, things like this. I mean, I can go into that. I don't want to. That's a long, drawn-out story, but you're only absorbing small amounts of it. That's why we tell people take some living strange multi-blend in your water when you eat your food, and it'll digest it more efficiently, and the biffle will help you absorb more of it. So you don't have to eat as much food to get the nutrient.
okay.
You just
So does this work as the Living Streams multi blend? Does that work as enzymes? Like if you
Oh,
take,
it's loaded with enzymes. I mean, it's absolutely
you don't
packed.
need you don't need to buy
No,
digestive enzymes.
and now these bacteria in here will break down more food supplements, more food than any other food there is. See, the real enzyme in the body is created by a bacteria. Bacteria produce enzymes, and that's the only
Mhm.
way you can get a true bacteria. I mean, from bacteria enzymes that'll break down food. You've heard of these food enzymes? They call them food enzymes. You know,
Well, yeah, I take
it's,
them.
it's
Digestive
it's
enzymes.
not a food enzyme at all. It's just food. It's just a molecule of food. They call them enzymes, but they're not a true enzyme.
Yeah.
I knew this years and years ago when I studied this stuff. They've created that idea so they can sell another product, but it's nothing more than food that's taken from the it's food molecule. An
So they
enzyme,
break
an
down.
enzyme. What they don't do it. They don't do what they say they do. Nah, no, they're all lying to you. It's all a bunch of lies. An enzyme, a true enzyme, is a
You're
bacteria
popping my
produces
bubbles.
an enzyme. A true enzyme comes from a probiotic, and see, pathogens produce enzymes too. But when their enzymes hit the food product, it creates a poison. Okay, that's how you get sick, because a pathogen produces enzymes to a bacteria. Now it'll produce an enzyme that breaks down food particles instead of making it into good. It digests it, but it creates a poison instead of food like a probiotic does. That's the difference between the two.
Wow.
It's because a probiotic produces poison, and a pathogenic bacteria produces poison, and a probiotic produces food for our body. There's a difference is the pathogenic bacteria produces the food it can consume. It consumes that poison. It may be poison to us, but it's not poison to them. Okay, it poisons us. So the probiotics produces food that it likes, and it produces a food that it likes, and we like the same food.
Oh, okay. So it's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Okay, now let me explain something to you. Now you eat beefs. Everybody eats some kind of beef. You know, just meat. Okay.
Yeah, I don't,
All right. But
yeah.
anyway, I know. But people eat beef. Okay, you can eat beef. Human can eat beef. Doesn't bother them, right? But you can't eat the grass.
Right.
Cannot eat the grass. The steroids. Okay. All right. And there's a shrimp in the Gulf of Mexico that we eat on our dinner plates. People eat shrimp, and I don't eat shrimp either. I don't eat shellfish, but people eat shrimp, and I've had shrimp in the past. That shrimp in the Gulf of Mexico, most of the number one diet that it has on is crude oil and asphalt. That's what it eats.
Oh.
But we can eat the asphalt. Yeah, that's one of its main diets is oil. It leaks oil, hydrocarbon.
So that's why when
we
there's
can't eat the hydrocarbons. See, it would kill us, but the shrimp can. And bacteria, lots of bacteria eat crude oil. And it's leaking all over. I mean, there's 125 foot of asphalt in the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, and it all pops up, and the bacteria get all over and eat it, and just consumes it like crazy.
So wait, so is shrimp okay for the human body, or
Yeah,
it's
it's
not?
okay. It's okay to eat,
Because it's digested.
but it's been changed. See, we can eat the shrimp, but we can't eat the food that
the shrimp eats.
the shrimp. And that's the same thing about pathogenic and probiotics. You see, pathogenic bacteria create their own kind of food, but it's poison to us.
Right. Yeah.
And guess what? The probiotics produce that molecule and those amino acids. And guess what it does to the pathogens? When it comes in contact with them, it kills them. That's what they call a bactericide. And literally, the last paper I wrote, when it comes and see those pathogens will come after that molecule in your body, because the bacteria they absorb food through the walls of their body. They don't have a mouth; they absorb it through the body. And when a molecule, an amino acid that's made from a probiotic, which is called a bactericide, when it comes in contact with the last paper I read said this, when it comes in contact with a pathogen, it literally burns a hole in it like a laser, and it leaks this DNA out. That's how it kills bacteria naturally.
Well, I mean, that's a good thing, but then that stuff that's coming out, how does that come out of your body?
It just goes away. It's waste product. Your body gets rid of it all the time.
Pee it out.
That's going on in your body right now, all through in your eyes, in your skin, and inside your mouth, and your blood, and your urine. It's all in there. It's happening right now as you're speaking.
And coming to you live.
It's a war going on inside your body. All we do is help it along a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how you got to look at things. See, we help it along because our product is loaded with food molecules, and guess what they are? Bacteria.
I have another question from Steve. He's asking. He must have listened to another of your interviews. He wrote, "How much molasses place to grow good bacteria? Would Wayne be willing to share a fertilizer recipe for 40 acres of hay?"
He'd have to call me and find out. He'd give him my number, and I'll call him.
Okay.
It's not just molasses.
Oh, but I know which interview he's talking about. You talked about, because you said there's no. Oh, so here we are. This is a really good one.
Yeah.
Before we end here, you said there are no nutrients, no trace minerals in the soil.
No, they're there, all right.
But they can't be broken down for the bacteria. And then you talked about glyphosate, and I want to end on that because
there's no bacteria in our soil in the United States or Canada or South America that'll break down trace minerals that are in the soil right now.
But there are trace minerals.
Yeah, they're there in clays and stuff like that. It's all trace minerals.
And if you take trace minerals, like I take concentrate minerals from
unless you take the Living Streams Multiblend, you won't absorb them.
That's what I was going to ask.
Those are designed to break down. That's what our living minerals are made up of. 80 bioavailable minerals straight into the body. That's what the living minerals mean. It took me 2 years to develop that product, that multi-blend, to break down trace minerals or clay in the soil. That took me 2 years to adapt them to break down clays and trace minerals. That's why it works so well on the soil, and we do this process on the soils and stuff like that. And your body, so you're not getting any trace minerals. The only trace minerals you ever got in your whole life was when you were from your mother. That's what you got. And that bone, that little bit of minerals you got from your mother, your body grew to because you're only getting 4 minerals in your food. There's no more than 4 to 6 minerals in our food.
Which minerals are you talking about?
Just basic minerals like, you get from, that's what the farmer puts in the food. I'm talking about in the food.
You talking about like nitrogen and the
Well, nitrogen is not a, it's a nutrient. It's not a,
okay, but what's that? NP?
calcium, iron, just all the different. We need 56 trace minerals in our body to replicate a cell perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Say otherwise, it just gets. We recycle the body will recycle those minerals. But remember, I talked about leaching
Yes.
minerals out of urine.
Yes.
That's coming from your bones. That's from you got from your mother. That's why every generation is getting weaker and weaker and weaker until they're so weak. Women now can't even hardly have a baby. They're so weak because they have no minerals left.
Wow. And so,
So it
and if you take minerals in their ionic form or angstrom form,
doesn't matter. They're not in the right form.
you can't, they're not
No,
bio.
the body can't take them up. That's why women would take. There's a book out there I highly recommend you get. It's called Vitamin K2, Vitamin K2, and the Calcium Paradox.
Okay.
Yeah, you're gonna love that woman. She's a genius. She's just missing a couple of things, but she's really sharp. You know about
Yeah.
vitamin K2 and how you can absorb calcium and things
Now
like
I
that.
have three more to get from the other one
They're
that you.
really good. You're gonna love these things. It's gonna really.
I know. I geek out on this stuff all the
Yeah, you're
time.
gonna love that stuff. Okay, because really, really powerful stuff. It's powerful. And there's another book I want you to get too.
Oh,
It's called Emerging Viruses. Emerging Viruses by Lynn Horowitz.
I already got that one. That's the one I was talking about.
Okay, okay, all
But
right.
I wanted you to say it because you already
Okay.
told me to get that
Now
one.
that talks about how inoculations don't work at all, never have done, and they're lying about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the patents for HIV/AIDS that he found in the books and how they patented and all that stuff. He's a very fascinating guy.
Okay. There's that Bifido 2 that you have that product, and I didn't get that one.
That's
But
okay. I can send it to
that's the one that you put in your ear and it
you.
goes,
Right.
it passes but does that help with hearing?
No, 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 no.
It
There's
just
a okay now bifidos. Remember, we have a bifido product. Okay, and when you take that, it's going to kill the bacteria in the solution. But we don't take the bifido product for the bacteria. We take it for the curcumin and the yttrium that's in the product
oh,
to get it in your body. Okay, it's killed the acid in your mouth, and your
yeah.
stomach acid will kill the bifidos. Now, the only time you get bifidobacteria is from your mother's breast milk if she's got bifidos in her gut, because in mammals there's a lymph system that runs from the near down the digestive tract, the lower tract, up through the breast, through the nipple. When the milk is pumped out, it's injected into the baby.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about antibodies and how the antibodies from the mother. No, 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 it has nothing to do with it. It's bacteria that they give to the baby that makes them strong. It's not antibodies whatsoever. It has nothing to do with antibodies.
That's in the
That's
breast.
That's in the breast milk automatic. And all mammals, and they write books about it, about dairy, about that. They can write books about it. I've read a couple of them. And so that's where they're getting. If the mother's sick, the baby's going to be sick. If
Yeah.
the mother's healthy, okay, that's the only time between the time you're born and 11 and a half months that you can get those bifidos in your gut. Because once the baby's digestive tract starts functioning, producing acid and enzymes, it can't get in there.
Oh,
Through the bifido
wow.
now, but there's a way around this, okay?
Uh-huh.
You can either take that bifido 2 or other bifidos, inject it into your lower tract, inject it into with a syringe, or you can put it in your ear, because there's a lymph system that runs from your ear all the way down to your lymph system. And the main drainage port is right there by your heart, where all the lymph system comes together. It goes right into there, drains directly into that. And that system drains right into the lower tract where the pH is high, where the bifidos are supposed to be.
Oh, wow.
So it just travels down through there and it gets right in. It starts to grow. That's what a bifido 2 has 6 bacteria in it. They're supposed to grow in your gut, and they'll start growing over time. That's
So,
what you really want.
so are there some mothers are there some people that don't have this bifido because of the
Yeah,
anti?
all it takes is a dose of antibiotics to kill them.
And so a pregnant mother listening right now should be taking your bifido or
Well,
bifido.
she didn't know she didn't need to be taken. She can just give it to the baby, and she give it to herself too. But that's what she should
But if
give it
she
to the
gives it to
baby.
herself, isn't it going to be in her breast milk?
Yeah, she can get, but we don't we don't recommend that because it takes time to get it into. She
Oh,
sure
okay.
she could take it, but it takes time to get it to grow
So just give it to the baby
All you
before.
gotta do is give it to the baby and any other bifidos you can find out there, anything you can find at all to take as bifidos. And the way to take a powdered probiotic is simmer some milk, you know, for get down to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, get it up to 175 for about, you know, just simmer it up, get to that. It kills most of the bacteria in there. And take that powdered probiotics, let it cool, put it on a counter, just put yourself a half a pint or something there. And then you mix the pill form of bacteria that you're buying.
Yeah.
You put it, you mix it up and stir it up, then you cover it for a couple of days and make a yogurt out of it, and then take it. That's the only way to get it, because most of that stuff is dead, by the way, the way they process. That's the reason it doesn't work, because by the time it starts to replicate in your gut, it's going out your rectum. It just takes so long for it to grow. You just put it in there, let it milk, and they love milk, so you can just grow it that way. That makes more problem. The problem with that, this has been documented over and over. Every year, the colleges study this as a work thing for checking these bacteria that are in products on the market. They'll go out and grab a product, and they'll look and see if that bacteria is in the product is actually what it says on the label. And 60% of those products don't have the product that's on the label in the pill. They're wrong.
God, really?
60, and then 80% of the bacteria out there in these powdered products are dead already anyway. I mean, 80%.
And it's so expensive.
That's been documented from universities from here to King. I mean, they've been doing that for 25 years, checking the products on the market to find if they match up and if they how many of them are dead or alive. The way they process it murders them. They're barely alive anyway, just hanging on there, just barely hanging on.
Because what, they centrifuge it and then
They centrifuge it and they inject it into a plumbing system, into a vacuum, a 50 pounds of vacuum at 120 below zero to freeze dry it. And then they have it sticks to the walls of the tanks. These tanks are spinning slowly as it's sprayed in there, and they got these scrapers going around scraping it off the walls. Then it goes down to a grinder to pulverize into powder, and it runs along, and they put like rice bran or something else in it as a nutrient, and then they put it in pills to get the right ratio right. That's why they say we got 5 billion per capsule, but they're all dead. You know, this cell count stuff is like a joke, because but they count that before they put it in before they process it. It says we count, they're all bacteria, 5 billion per whatever milliliter, but they're all dead now. But they test them when they make it. Then they put it in a bottle dead. It's just a joke. I think it's funny.
But it's not, because you spend a lot of money. I've spent a lot of money on probiotics. I mean, I ferment my own food, and I think that's the best probiotic, or, you know, but.
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, if you ferment it, you take the pill, which some of them are still alive. So you take a pill and put it in milk or whatever you're gonna put it in to feed it so it can replicate. Then you get a decent product, see.
But you have
as long as it's not a pathogen or something like that.
In the soil based, you have to be careful. So I don't even know how I would know that was soil based. I was looking at the ingredients and I can't even tell if it's soil.
I know because that's what he uses. He uses soil. He talks about all these radio shows. You talk about how it healed him. Well, he was never sick. He's just but a con artist.
Oh God. Well, yeah, a big company. I forgot the name of the company.
That's how they got money, because he was lying to everybody.
Oh, that's not good. There's so many people that do that.
Can't trust anybody out there, really. I'm just only a few people on my website. Only a few people I recommend. I recommend that they get stuff. And I work with people like this new iodine company I've been working with since November to make the iodine correctly. We're almost there, but they're actually producing the best iodine I ever seen.
So the iodine, would it have bacteria in it?
No bacteria. No, this is just a pure iodine. It's Edgar Cayce's recipe from 1928. We've been working on that for a while. It's really hard to do, but I'm working with them. It's on the market right now. I'm getting ready to.
Is that Phil?
No. This is a company. The product name is I-53 Nascent.
Oh.
This is what we developed. I used to work with another company. I won't call name it because.
That's okay.
I don't want to talk about it, but they changed their recipes and everything because they wanted they're greedy. This woman that does this, I trust her. She follows my directions. I've been studying nascent iodine for at least 10 years. None of it's made right. That I know of, you know.
Well,
if I did, I would recommend that stuff. This stuff is the mildest, the best. This I-53 stuff. That's the trade name. That's the company she sells it to wholesale. She's not retailing it yet or wholesaling it yet, but I'm going to try to get her to do that. Everybody needs it.
I think your love is inventions and creations and.
Well, no, I supported her. I helped her get through her
No, but I mean, but you love that kind of stuff, like getting in and
I used to be a mechanic, I was 25 years as a mechanic, and I used to invent
yeah,
tools to make my job easier.
yeah.
So,
Well, if you have time, another day, let's talk about mold and your mold.
okay, how to get rid of the mold and keeps the mold out. Yeah,
Yeah, because that's something that I want to take with me when we go to Georgia,
right.
and possibly to help people and at least let them know about it. So I mean,
Okay.
I can talk with you off the air about that, but or I should say, it's not really on the air.
I can send you a half a dozen bottles to take with you, no problem at all. Okay.
Well, I just need to, I need to see if that's even, you know what I mean? This is actually constructing, helping to reconstruct homes and stuff like that. I mean, they don't need that yet. You know
Well,
what I
yes,
mean?
they do. They need to prep their house ahead of time, because
Oh,
once you can make a mold free and never have mold in your house, no matter how wet it gets. Once you prep it when you're building it, you try
oh,
everything.
right. That's right.
I'll explain that to you off, either
Okay.
on the air or off the air, how that works and how it stops. And remember, I wanted to send you that structure effect paper,
Yeah.
all
Yes.
about the bacteria structure. The bacteria keeps mold from growing on.
Oh God. And that's
That's what.
frequency, right? Oh, I love frequency. I love that.
Yeah, it
Oh,
keeps a certain frequency. Remember, I told you about animals won't live in one area
yes.
because of the frequency. That's why bacteria. That's why these pathogens and also mold will not grow in your house, because it doesn't like the frequency.
Yeah. And that is, what's the name of the product if people wanted to
It's
order
called
that?
mold relief.
Oh, really? And tell everybody where they can find you and what your website
Living
and
Streams Mission and livingstreamsmission.com.
uh-huh.
And you can call Marilyn at the office there, or you want the number?
Yeah, go ahead if you
Okay,
have it.
I got it right here. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay.
I have this feeling people are going to get very excited, just like me. I'm like so excited. And you've told me stuff today that I haven't heard
Well,
before.
there's a lot more.
I know, and
Yeah, just
and I,
scratching the surface right
I
now.
know there's only one of you, but and
Marilyn knows a lot.
does she?
She's
But I
been
mean,
working with me for years, so she knows a lot. I mean, she can tell you 90% of what I know. Okay,
she's a
I'm
wonderful
into the research, the deep end, but she knows how the products work. Okay, her number is 360
Mhm.
912 2981.
Okay, and so people can call Marilyn and order you.
Man, she's my right arm. She actually, I tell everybody, she runs the company.
Aw,
She's smart. She's really,
she's a beautiful person. She's really, really nice.
oh, she's a super professional.
Yeah, she is. All right then, Wayne.
Well, it's great talking to you.
Yeah, I
Had a good
really
time.
appreciate you.
Really, it's nice to see somebody in real life when I talk to you.
Well, it'd be nice if I could see you,
Yeah,
but
I'd like to keep my picture out of the, you know what I mean? Try to write for now, temporarily, until things.
hold on one second. I'm just going to end the recording, and just hang on one second, okay?
Okay.
And thank you everybody for listening to the Wild and Free Healthy You podcast. Tune in more later for more, and you'll get the email and you get all the information, and we'll have all this information in the show notes. Thanks again. Thanks for listening to You Podcast. I appreciate you so incredibly mucho. Make sure you always take care of you first, because your health is your number one asset. To listen to more podcasts, check out LinnyMotivates.com and follow me on Instagram at LinnyMotivates. Don't forget to share them with your family and friends. Remember to always be your biggest fan and your biggest cheerleader, because no one can love you more than you can. Take care of you. Ciao.